to another episode of Becoming No One. I'm your host, Big Taj, and today we're going to talk about Stanza 4. So I'm sure you guys can probably tell from my voice, but I actually have been sick the last couple of days. My brother got sick right before we left Spain, and then he passed it on to me. So my voice sounds a little questionable today, so just stick with me. I didn't want to make y'all wait another week because I know I made y'all wait while I was in Spain doing my big one. So I was just like, you know what? I want to make sure that you guys get this episode. So today, again, we're going to dive into Stanza 4. Stanza 4 is going to be a 2-part episode just because there's so much information, especially in these last couple of stanzas. So this season is probably going to be a little bit over 15 episodes. It might be closer to like 20, 21, just because I want to knock out as much as I possibly can on what we need to understand about the universe and how creation is made, the evolutionary process. So as stated in earlier episodes, Stanza 4 shows the differentiation of the germ of the universe into the 7 levels of consciousness, hierarchy, or divine powers, who are the active manifestations of the one supreme energy. So these are the framers, the shapers, and ultimately the creators of all the manifested universe, okay? So they guide and inform. They are intelligent beings who adjust and control evolution, embodying in themselves those manifestations of the one law, or the laws of nature, which we talked about when we talked about the Hermetic principles, okay? So they follow the same laws and principles that we do. Now, they are also known as the Dayan Kohan, which I talked about before. The Dayan Kohan are like our Archangels, there are devas, right? There are celestial beings, okay? And Hindus call this stage of creation the creation of gods. So stanza 4 part 1 says, "Listen, ye sons of the earth, to your instructors, the sons of the fire. Learn there is neither first nor last, for all is one, issued from no number." So part A of the secret doctrine says, "These terms, the sons of the fire and the sons of the fire mist and the like, require explanation. They are connected with a great primordial and universal mystery, and it is not easy to make it clear. There is a passage in the Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 8, wherein Krishna, speaking symbolically and esoterically, says, 'I will state the times,' meaning conditions, 'at which devotees departing from this life do so never to return,' which means to be reborn, 'or to return,' which means to incarnate again. The fire, the flame, the day, the bright, lucky fortnight. The 6 months of the northern solstice, departing, dying in these. Those who know the Brahman, yogis, go to the Brahman. Smoke night, the dark unlucky fortnight, the 6 months of the southern solstice, dying. In these, the devotee goes to the lunar light, or mansion, the astral light also, and returns, is reborn. These 2 paths, bright and dark, are said to be eternal in this world, or great Kapla, which means age. By the one, a man goes never to come back. By the other, he returns. Now these names, fire, flame, day, the bright fortnight, etc., as smoke, night, and so on, leading on to the end of the lunar path, are incomprehensible without the knowledge of esotericism. These are all names of various deities which preside over the cosmic psychic powers. We often speak of the hierarchy of flames of the sons of fire. Sankaracharya, the greatest of the esoteric masters of India, says that fire means a deity which presides over time, which is Kala. The able translator of the Bhagavad Gita, Kashinath Trimbak Telag, M.A. of Bombay, confesses he has no clear notion of the meaning of these verses. It seems quite clear, on the contrary, to him who knows the occult doctrine. With these verses, the mystic sense of the solar and lunar symbols are connected. The preachers are lunar deities and our ancestors because they created the physical man. The Agnishwatha, the Kumaras, the 7 mystic stages, are solar deities, though the former are Pertris also, and these are the fashioners of the inner man. They are the sons of fire because they are the first beings. In the secret doctrine, they call them the minds, evolved from the primordial fire. Now, there are a couple Bible verses that allude to this. The Lord is a consuming fire, which is Deuteronomy, and it looks like 4:24. The Lord Christos shall be revealed with his mighty angels in flaming fire, which is 2 Thessalonians 7 and 8. The Holy Ghost descends on the apostles like cloven tongues of fire, Acts 2:3. Vishnu will return on Kalki, the white horse, as the last avatar amid fire and flames, and Soish will be brought down equally on the white horse in a tornado of fire. And I saw the heavens open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him is called the Word of God. And then it's Revelations XIX 13, amid flaming fire. Fire is the aether in its purest form, and hence it is not regarded as matter, but it is the unity of aether, the second manifested deity, in its universality. But there are two fires, and a distinction is made between them in the occult teachings. The first, or the purely formless and invisible fire concealed in the central spiritual sun, is spoken of as the triple metaphysically, while the fire of the manifested cosmos is septenary. Throughout both the universe and our solar system, the fire of knowledge burns upon all actions on the plane of illusion, says the commentary. Therefore, those who have acquired it and are emancipated are called fires. Speaking if the seven senses symbolized by Hortus priest and the Brahmanas, says in Anugita, thus these seven senses, smell and taste, color, sound, etc., are the causes of emancipation. And the commentator adds, it is from these seven which the self is to be emancipated. I am here devoted of qualities must mean the self, not the Brahmana who speaks sacred books of the East. So let me explain this. But first you have to understand that even esoterically, this is hard to explain. But Krishna did a semi-good job in this passage from the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so the short answer is that the sons of fire reincarnate here on earth, while the sons of the fire mist go on to something else. Okay, so the rays are the sons of the fire mist produced by the third creation, or the third logos. Okay, they are also the highest of the planetary Kohans or angels, while the sons of the fire are referring to the adept teachers of each root race or age who incarnate on earth as instructors and teachers who are meant to share their divine wisdom. Now, they are subdivisions of this third logos, okay? So you know how we talked about there being seven densities of consciousness, but each of them have seven subdivisions in between them. It's the same idea here, okay? So the seven of the fire mist are the first seven angels or rays of light that come out of this divine ray. And the sons of the fire are the subdivisions of those rays. Whichever path is taken during this age is eternal, though, okay? So whichever path you take, whether you're the first seven or the seven subdivisions, that's eternal. You have to stick with that throughout this age. So if your soul's path is to reincarnate, then that will happen until the end of this age. If it is to go on to other things, then that will happen until the end of this age. So there are several definitions for fire in esotericism. But in this passage, when they mention fire, flame, day, bright, fortnight, smoke, night, etc., they are all deities which are responsible for our cosmic psychic powers. So within these deities, there's a hierarchy between them. And the greatest of the esoteric masters believes fire is the deity of time, but it's not very clear, okay? They do know that the solar and lunar symbols are connected, and the Pitris are the lunar deities and our ancestors, but because they created the physical man. So these are the sons of the fire mist, and the Kumaras or seven mystic sages are the solar deities because they are the fashioners of the inner man, which we will dive into when we get to book 2, okay? So we won't talk about this season, but once we get to book 2, we'll talk about this. Now, the secret doctrine says they are the sons of the fire because they are the first beings evolved from the primordial flame, and they're also called the mind, okay? Now, there are many Bible verses to allude to this, which we expressed in the paragraph above. So back to these two definitions of fire. First, we have to understand that fire is aether in its purest form, and aether is not matter, okay? So the first definition of fire is formless and invisible fire concealed in the central spiritual sun. Metaphysically, is referred to as the triple. That's what it says. To me, this is fire that is purely spiritual, okay? The way fire manifests in spirit. Now, the second is the fire of the manifested cosmos, and it is septenary throughout both the universe and our solar system. To me, this is the physical manifestation of fire. The commentary says that the fire or knowledge burns up all actions on the plane of illusion. Therefore, those who have acquired knowledge and are emancipated are called fires. Okay, so the seven senses are the cause of emancipation. Now, just an extra tidbit, the sons of fire mist are said to have been the ones who fought and defeated the Atlantean magicians around 9564 BC, and they are the protectors of humanity. Now, later on, I'm going to explain this in further detail because it actually is a lot more than just that, especially when it comes to the Atlanteans. But I'll explain that just a little bit further. I just need y'all to get more information of what this document says before it even can make sense to y'all. So part B says the expression all is one number is issued from no number, related again to the universal and philosophical tenet just explained in stanza 3. That which is absolute is of course no number, but in its later significance it has an application in space as in time. It means that not only every increment of time is part of a larger increment up to the most indefinitely prolonged duration conceivable by the human intellect, but also that no manifested thing can be thought of except as part of the larger whole. The total aggregate being the one manifested universe that issues from the unmanifested or absolute, called non-being or no number, to distinguish it from the being or the one number. Okay, so this is basically another way to describe the all or absolute, or this state of non-being. No number, which is just a numerical value of 0, when we are all back a part of this one whole, it is the boundless circle, okay? It's a loop that keeps going on until infinity without any bounds or limitations. In this state of non-existence, but when the whole monad starts to separate from the all, there's a need for a new designation, because although it is still whole, it is no longer in the rest period, so it becomes one. The absolute state, or the state of perfection, or the state of non-existence that happens for 7 eternities, in the interim is 0 or no number though. So the first section is letting us know that we are all one and all the same thing with the same potential regardless of our density level. The sons of fire, or the adepts, which are higher density beings who have incarnated with the sole purpose to help us evolve. This would be like Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Buddha, Yahshua. They are here to help and lead us in the right direction. We just need to seek them out so that we can learn what they know about the Father, which is just God energy. Part 2 of stanza 4 says, learn what we who descend from the primordial 7, we who are born from the primordial flame, have learned from our fathers. Part A says, this is explained in Book 2, and this name, primordial flame, corroborates what is said in the first paragraph of the preceding commentary of stanza 4. The distinction between the primordial and the subsequent 7 builders is this. The former are the ray and direct emanations of the first sacred 4, the tetrakitis, that is the eternally self-evident one, eternal in essence, note well, not in manifestation, and distinct from the universal one. Latent during pralaya and active during manavantara. The primordial proceeds from father, mother, which is spirit, Yall, or eyeless, whereas the other manifests quaternary, and the 7 proceed from the mother alone. It is the latter who is immaculate, Virgin Mother, who is overshadowed, not impregnated by the universal mystery. When she emerges from the state of Leia, or undifferentiated condition, in reality they are of course all one, but their aspects on the various planes of being are different. The first primordial are the highest beings of the scale of existence. They are the Archangels of Christianity, those who refuse, as Michael did in the latter system, and as did the elders, mind-born sons of Brahma, to create the wrath to multiply. Okay, y'all, so let me explain this. According to Theosophy Wiki, the primordial 7 refers to the first 7 beings to appear on any particular plane during this process of manifestation, usually called the Ahi, or called the Dayan Buddhas, or the 7 primordial rays from the manifested logos, which corresponds to the 7 colors of the solar spectrum and the 7 hierarchies or levels of consciousness, okay? They are all differentiated in matter or density, but not in quality. This tells us that no matter what plane of existence we manifest on, whether it's the highest density or the lowest, we have the ability to access the same potential if we know how to develop it. We are all the same and we have access to the same things as long as we know how to access it, all right? So in short term, raise our vibration and transcend the universal laws. Now, the primordial flame is the same as the luminous sons of the men of Ataric dawn. When the third logos appears, this lower field of differentiated consciousness radiates from the lower level. This is called Fohat, or the electrifying principle or so, in the objective plane, which is the spiritual plane, and the Manasapaturas, The sons of mind, which are the first sacred four, also called Kumaras, that help with the production of mankind on the subjective plane, which is material. What you basically need to understand is that the primordial seven emanates from the father mother when they are still in this state of oneness, and the seven builders, or the sons of the flame, come from the mother alone. Basically, what happened is when this third logos appeared, it created a ray which spat out seven divine beings, or seven rays of light, which correspond with the seven color spectrums, right? These are called our Daya Kohans, right? These are our angels, our devas, our celestial beings. They were still invisible and formless, but their job was to basically shape and multiply themselves to create humanity. However, they did not want to do that when they got here. Everybody has free will, so they decided to go in a different direction. So the mind created another seven, okay? So this first seven is actually called the Sacred Four, but there are actually seven of them. This second seven are like the builders and the shapers of the universe, the creators of the universe. So this second part just tells us a couple things. One, we're all created equal. And then it tells us that there were first group of seven celestial beings who were created out of the primordial flame to help shape humanity. However, they decided to go in a different direction, and they decided to go in a direction of worshiping God. These are our archangels. These are our devas. They have never had a human incarnation, and they are invisible and they're formless. However, they still help to guide us, okay? They are part of the celestial planes, though, the heavenly planes, right? And then we have these other set of beings, which are called the builders, okay? They're like the protectors and watchers of humanity, but they also actually formed the universe. They formed our planet. They formed us. So both of these set of beings were formed in this fourth stanza, and they are all equal when it comes to quality. They're just existing on different densities. The first set of beings, which are called the Sacred Four, there are actually seven of them, okay? But they come directly from the Father, okay? Whereas the second set of beings come directly from the Mother and from manifested logos. So stanza 4, part 3 says, from the effulgency of light, the ray of the ever dark sprung in space, the reawakened energy. And it says Dayan Kohans, the one from the egg, the 6 and the 5, then the 3, the 1, the 4, the 1, the 5, the twice 7, the sum total. And these are the essences, the flames, the elements, the builders, and the numbers, the arupas, which are formless, and the rupas with bodies, and the force of divine man, the sum total. And from the divine man emanates the forms, the sparks, the sacred animals, and the messengers of the sacred Father, the Pitris within the Holy Four. Part A says, this relates to the sacred science of the numerals, so sacred indeed and so important in the study of occultism that the subject can hardly be skimmed, even in such a large work as the present. It is on the hierarchies and correct numbers of these beings invisible to us, except upon rare occasions, that the mystery of the whole universe is built. The Kumaras, which are the first pair of these seven that were created, for instance, are called the Four, though in reality seven in number, because Sanaka, Sanandanda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara are the chief Vadhatras, their patronymic name, as they spring from the fourfold mystery. To make the whole clearer, we have to turn to our illustrations to tenets more familiar to some of our readers, namely the Brahmanical. So this first part is letting us know that the mystery of the universe that we seek starts with the science of numerals, which is numerology, guys, and hierarchies of these invisible beings who built the universe. Now, the Kumaras that we keep talking about are called the Sacred Four, but there are seven of them. They are just called the Sacred Four because they spring from this fourfold. The next part said, according to Manu, Hiran Gabraha is Brahma, the first male formed by the indiscernible causeless cause in a golden egg, resplendent as the sun, as states the Hindu classical dictionary. Hiran Yagbaha means the golden, or rather the effulgent womb or egg. The meaning tallies awkwardly with the epithet of male. Surely the esoteric meaning of the sentence is clearly enough. In the Rig Veda, it is said, that the one Lord of all beings, the one animating principle of God and man, arose in the beginning in the golden womb, the Hiran Yagbaha, which is the mundane egg or sphere of the universe. That being is surely androgynous, and the allegory of Brahma separating into two and recreating in one of his halves the female Vash, himself as Viraj, is the proof of that. So the Hiran Yagbaha, which means golden egg or effulgent womb or sphere of the universe, is the androgynous beings separating into two and recreating in the female principle, but it is mistranslated by many to mean woman came from man, when in reality the Hiran Garbaha is androgynous. So the one from the egg, the 6 and the 5, give the number 1065, the value of the firstborn. Later on, the male and female Braham Pirajapati, who answers to the numbers 7 and 14 and 21 respectively. The Pirajapati are like the Sephiroth, only 7, including the synthetic Sephira and the triad from which they sprung. Thus, from Hiran Yagarba or Pirajapati, the Troon, primeval Vedic, Trimurti, Agni, Vayu, and Surya, emanates the other 7, or again 10, if we separate the first 3 which exist in 1 and 1 in 3. All moreover being comprehended within that one supreme Parama called Gaia or secret, and Sarvatma, the supersoul. The 7 lords of being lie concealed in Sarvatma like thoughts in one brain. So are the Sephiroth. It is either 7 when counting from the upper triad headed by Kether, or 10 exoterically. In the Mahabharata, the Pirajapati are 21 in number, or 10, 6, and 5, which is 1065, tri 7. This part is just breaking down the numerology portion. So the 1 from the egg, the 6, and the 5 give us the number 1065, which we talked about before in stanza 1 when we were talking about the measure of man. So 1065 is the value of the firstborn, who answers to 7, 14, and 21 numerically. The Pirajapati, which are the 7 that come from this second ray, they come after this sacred 4. Okay, so the 7, 10, 14, or 21 represent the Pirajapati, who is the deity of 7 that presides over procreation and the protection of life. Now part B says the 3, the 1, the 4, the 1, the 5, in their totality, twice 7 represents 3, 1, 4, 1, 5. The numerical hierarchy of the Daihan Kohans, generic term of devas, angels, and celestial beings of various orders, and of the inner or circumcised world, when placed on the boundary of the great circle of past night, called also Dyanipasa, the rope of the angels, the rope that hedges off the phenomenal from the noumenal cosmos, not falling within the range of our present objective consciousness. This number, when not enlarged by permutation and expansion, is ever 31415 anagrammatically and kabbalistically, being both the numbers of the circle and the mystic Svatstika. The twice 7 once more. For whatever way the 2 sets of figures are counted, when added separately, one figure after another, whether crossway, from right or from left, they will always yield 14. Mathematically, they represent well-known calculations, namely that the ratio of a diameter of a circumference of a circle is as 1 to 3.1415, or the value of pi, as this ratio is called, the symbol being always used in mathematical formula to express it. This set of figures must have the same meaning, since the 1 ratio of 314, 159, and then again 1, 3, and then 1, 4, 1, 5, 9, 2, 7 are worked out in the secret calculations to express the various cycles and ages of the firstborn, or the 31,000 trillion with fractions, and yield the same 13,415 by a process we are not concerned with at present. And it may be shown that Mr. Ralston Skinner, author of the Sources of Measures, reads the Hebrew word alhim in the same number value by omitting, as said, the ciphers, and A is 1, I is 3 or 30, H is 5, 1, 4, 10, and M is 4 or 40 anagrammatically. So 31415, as explained by him by permutation, 13,415 since Alf. So basically, all you need to know about this is that the 31415 represents the number 31415, which we talked about when we talked about the measure of man. Now, this is the number of the circle, also the value of pi, which is a very important number in the universe, but it's also an allegorical circle, okay? Now, Wiki Theosophy says that the circle past night is an allegory for beings who still live under the illusion of separation, and it talks about how they're in this constant loop of repeated patterns. So this separation is caused by the Lipikas, which are said to be the recorders of karma. Now, they are responsible for creating a barrier between the personal ego, or the lower self, and the impersonal self, or the higher self, okay? So they're the cause and the parent source of this lower self being created. Now, the boundary cannot be passed by anyone but the karmic recorders. So the ring of past night is for those who choose to descend only to ascend again, and for those who are evolving towards oneness again, or on this path of purification or ascension. From this form the Arupa and the Rupa, the formless world or the spiritual world, and the world of forms or the material world. So basically, the Lipikatas, or the recorders of karma, separated the spiritual world from the physical world, okay? And they also separated our spiritual being from our physical being. So you pass the circle when you free yourself from this lower ego or this ignorance, and realize that there is no separation, and that everything is one, having experiences at varying levels. So the twice 7 is referring to the sacred 4 being created from the mind and refusing to multiply. So another 7, which is the Pirajapati, was created to create humanity. So the twice 7 emanated twice. It said that it requires 4 flames and 3 fires for one to manifest on earth. And the essence of them are the flames or the fires, which represents the spirit or the male element in water, matter or the opposite element, the elements, which are the simplest essential parts or particles which make up everything, the builders, which are the planetary spirits or creators of the universe, the numbers or the numerical component, the arupas, which is your spiritual body, right, your spirit, the rupa, which is your material body, and the force of divine man. So from the divine man comes the forms, the sparks, the sacred animals, and the messengers of the sacred fathers, which is pitris within the holy 4. This part is referring to the prototypes of all that is found in the universe in divine thought, which is the perfect cube or the foundation of the cosmos as a whole or individually. So the next part says, thus, while in the metaphysical world, the circle with the one point in it has no number and is called Anupadaka, parentless or numberless. It can fall under no calculation. In the manifested world, the mundane egg or circle is circumscribed with the groups called the line, the triangle, the pentacle, the second line, and the cube, or 13514. And when the point, having generated a line, thus becomes a diameter which stands from the androgynous logos, then the figure becomes 31415, or a triangle, a line, a cube, the second line, and a pentacle. When the son separates from the mother, he becomes the father. The diameter standing from nature, or the feminine principle. Therefore, it is said in the world of being, the one point fructifies the line, the virgin matrix of cosmos, the egg-shaped 0, and the immaculate mother gives birth to the form that combines all forms. Pirajapati is called the first procreating male and his mother's husband. This gives the keynote to all the latter divine sons from immaculate mothers. It is greatly corroborated by the significant fact that Anna, the name of the mother of the Virgin Mary, now represented by the Roman Catholic Church as having given birth to her daughter in an immaculate way, Mary conceived without sin, is derived from the Chaldean Anna, heaven or astral light, Amina Mundi, which is basically the soul of the universe. Hence, Anatai, or Deve Dirag, the wife of Siva, is also called Annapurna, and Kanya, the virgin, Uma Kanya, being her esoteric name and meaning the virgin of light, the astral light in one of its multiduplicitous aspects. So basically, in the macrocosm or metaphysical world, the circle with the one central point in it has no number and is called the Anupadaka. These are parentless and numberless, but it really represents these celestial beings who were born first. They hold a numerical value of 13514. In the manifested world, the circle becomes 31415. This is when the son separates from the mother and becomes the father. Now, part C says the devas, the pitris, the rishis, the suras and the asuras, the Daityas and the Adityas, the Danavas and the Gandharvas have all their synonyms in our secret doctrine, as well as in the Kabbalah and the Hebrew angelology. But it is useless to give their ancient names, as it would only create confusion. Many of these may be also found now even in the Christian hierarchy of divine and celestial powers. All those thrones and dominions, virtues and principalities, cherubs and seraphs and demons, the various denizens of the sidereal world are the modern copies of archaic prototypes. The very symbolism in their names, when translated or transliterated and arranged in the Greek and Latin, are sufficient to show it, as will be proved in several cases further on. So basically, all the archangels, the gods of Greek, the Latin and Roman legends, those are actually prototypes of these deities, okay? Prototypes of these celestial beings. Now it says the sacred animals are found in the Bible as well as in the Kabbalah, and they have their meaning, a very profound one too, on the page of the origins of life. In the Sefer Jezrah, it is stated that God engraved in the Holy Four the throne of his holy and Ophnim, wheels of the world spheres, and seraphim, the sacred animals, and the ministering angels. And from these three, the air, water, and fire or aether, he formed his habitation. Thus was the world made through three sephims, Sephir, Sephar, and Sippur, and through numbers, and numbered. With the astronomical key, these sacred animals become the signs of the zodiac. So the sacred animals are the animals of the zodiac, which all represent specific archetypes or prototypes. So the first three parts of stanza 4 tell us that we are all made of the same thing, and no matter what level of consciousness we incarnate into on this plane, we all have the same potential and access to reaching any other level. So we just have to seek out guidance from the higher beings that have incarnated to help us and guide us on this path of descension so that we can ascend again. It also tells us that out of the first primordial ray comes the first 7, or the sacred 4, who are equivalent to the archangels, the devas, the celestial beings, or devas, but they refuse to multiply the human race. So a second set of 7, or the Parajapatis, were manifested from the mind to procreate and protect humanity. They are actually the creators of our universe. Now, the creation of man requires 4 flames and 3 fires, which all have certain essences that are needed, which include builders who create the form of lives, the male and female principles, the spirit and the body, etc. There is numerology that needs to be considered in this, along with sacred symbols and animals that were created by man. But the beginning of stanza 4 is just showing us that the 7 levels of consciousness and celestial beings were created at this level. These celestial beings are called Daihan Kohans, often referred to as archangels, devas, and celestial beings that cannot be seen. Now, the resources for this episode are the same: The Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky, Theosophy Wiki, and the Book of Daizan, or the Secret Book of Daizan. Now, we're going to end the episode here because stanza 4 notes for me were over like 18 pages before I even added my annotation. So next episode, we'll talk about the other 3 parts of this stanza. Thank y'all for being patient over these last couple of weeks. I love y'all deep, and I'll see y'all next week.